middle of summer is a good time to see what's flowering in the swamp. Loads of things flower in swamps and ponds, and they sort of really peak about July. Here's like a massive clump of meadowsweet, which is Filipendula ulmara, and they have these very strange flowers which kind of look a bit fuzzy and fluffy, and they feel a bit soft, and the leaves and the flowers are edible. They taste horrible. Filipendula has loads and loads of medicinal uses. You can use like herb tea or eat the leaves, but they are revolting. And the leaves are quite distinctive. They've got like a 3 joined together ones there, and then pairs of them going down, and they're silvery on the backs there. And you can make tea out of them or cook with them or whatever you want. But eating them raw is an act of desperation, really. They are really revolting. There are loads of other things that taste much nicer. And they get quite tall. A lot of swamp plants get quite tall. There's loads of different umbelliferous ones, and a lot of those are quite toxic and hard to tell apart, so it's probably best not to have those unless you know exactly what they are. But this clump of meadowsweet just goes on for ages and ages and ages. Here are the remains of the marsh marigolds. They flower in the spring, and I did do a few shorts about them. They are just beautiful when they flower, and when they flower, none of this growth is here. It's all just the odd little thing flowering. They just sort of quite dormant in this time of year. They do have leaves, and again, this area is underwater sometimes. They like growing in shallow water, these ones, or in swamps or somewhere really wet. And marsh marigolds, really bright yellow colours in the spring. Loads of these different reeds and swamp grasses all over the place. The valerian has started flowering recently. It's really bright kind of pinky purpley colour in it. It goes on through most of the summer, and the leaves are like this, sort of almost pairs of leaves, not quite pairs. You see there's one just slightly above the other, like this, going out to the side of the stem like that, with one sort of terminal one. And the flowers are really nice and sort of nice, colourful, really bright in the swamp. But you also get them growing on dry banks, and you get them growing in woodlands, and here it's like a sunny swamp, but they'll grow in almost any conditions. Surprisingly not more common, really. And they get about so high, even taller sometimes. Sometimes you get them taller than me. But they are a really nice sight on swamps, and they'll grow in sort of shallow water. And it's the roots that are used in medicine, generally for sleep disorders and for nervous problems. But this really nice plant, not to be confused with that awful stuff that grows in walls called Stradranthus ruber, which has the pink and the white and the purple flowers. That's no relative at all, and that is an invasive weed. But this is our native valerian, and this is Valeriana officinalis, and probably recognise it best by the leaves, which are like that, and a bit kind of sort of furry to the touch as well. Whereas that nasty invasive weed that grows in walls has got very smooth leaves, and they're not like that remotely. So this is a really nice herb, very useful. Loads of types of willow herbs do really well on swamps, as well as being weeds in vegetable gardens, and they grow in hedgerows as well if it's a bit damp. And they're not to be confused with the rose bay willow herb. So this is the great hairy willow herb, but it's got like kind of furry stem, and they look kind of a bit furry, and their flowers are very much the same, sort of like just any other willow herb. This long sort of seed pod with a little pink flower on the end of it, and then the seed pod splits and lots of little seeds carried by the wind. They cure loads and loads of things. You use the herb to cure all manner of different ailments. They're a bit like stinging nettles. They cure just too many things to list, really. And they're very common, and you get quite a few different types of them. Water forget-me-nots are still flowering. They go on for ages and ages. They're really bright blue flowers, and they're good for digestive and for respiratory disorders, and you can use the herb to make tea. But the little flowers, just like ordinary forget-me-nots, so you could just pick them off and just sprinkle them on salads, and they're quite nice. Don't really taste them much. But yeah, they're really common, and water forget-me-nots tend to like growing on sort of a cleared area, maybe a newly landscaped area, and they're perennial. The ones you get in gardens are biennial, but these ones are perennial. But you do get loads of different types of them. You get some types that grow in meadows, some that look completely different. There's quite a big family of the forget-me-nots. Here they're growing in Let's see, about 6 inches of water now. So when it's full, the water's quite deep here, and they still look really tough and quite plentiful. And the very stunning, elegant water plantain, Alyssum plantago, with these really nice long thin stems and spread out little white flowers. They look similar to the gypsophilia that you get in flower arrangements, which has the same similar kind of arrangement of flowers but isn't a swamp plant. We actually bought some of these and we put them in the other pond, and they're doing okay, but these actually seeded themselves. And just last week we discovered that these had seeded themselves not just here but sort of quite profusely all over the place. But they're a lovely plant. The root tubers have medicinal uses and the leaves as well, but I'm going to let them spread a bit before I employ them in medicine. But they're just stunning, and they go on for quite a long time. All these little stems have loads of flowers, and they do really, really well. This actually gets quite tall in the end, so they just go on for ages and have this big sort of, like, it looks like a sort of like a kind of pyramid-y shape. And if you look here, there's another stem of flowers coming up there, and there's more little plants here. There's a little plant there, a smaller one, and then if I walk around here, there's another one here as well. Here's another one with a really, really fat stem. So this one's going to have a huge stem of flowers when it comes out. And they're just sort of, I keep noticing them all over the place. Just here, the water starts getting much, much deeper. And if you can see, it's much deeper than my boots, so I can't go any further that way. These water plantains were brilliant. It's so nice when a new species seeds itself into the swamp here. And the leaves are quite distinctive too. They're very smooth, and they've got these sort of little veins that come out like that, and the backs are like that. But really the flowers are the most distinctive thing of all with water plantains. Here our mystery plant has revealed its identity. Bulrushes, and they're self-seeded. I didn't plant these. And they've got this huge seed head, or flower head as it is now. And as they develop, they become this big sort of dark brown piece on the top, and this big stem. It looks like the baby ducks or the baby moorhens have attacked some of them, but these will spread into massive clumps, and they're really tall, and they get sort of taller than a person. In fact, there's more over there. If I can sort of wade through this bit. These ones are a bit more advanced. And you can see this, the flower head developing here, and that's quite a surprise to have something so enormous seeding itself here. You don't see them everywhere, but where you do get them, they spread into really thick, enormous clumps, and they spread by these sort of underground roots through the water. And they seem to love it here and be really well adapted. And there's so many of them, it makes me think, were they here last year and I just didn't notice them? So I thought they were wild iris, you see. The leaves are similar colour, and there's some wild iris just here. Just there, you see the leaves are quite similar, but they sort of arrange differently. So that is quite a surprise. Yeah, I've got bulrushes. The wild flag iris, or the Iris pseudochorus, they've been fantastic this year. They've finished now, there's just like 1 or 2 flowers left. This one's still out here, and there's one coming out, but they're pretty much all finished. Now you've got these little developing seed heads, yeah, they're growing up to 3 feet deep of water. They'll grow in damp fields. They're not too fussy as long as there's a bit of moisture, and they sort of spread with these long sort of rhizomes that spread out in all directions, extending the clump. And they go quite fast to spread, but they are quite easy to control because the roots aren't very deep. There has been loads and loads of ragged robin this year in the edges of the swamp, but it's nearly completely finished now. Here's another big clump of water forget-me-nots. These ones are more advanced. You can see, if you look really, really closely at the stems here, there's loads of seed heads developing all up the stem, and at the top there's not so many flowers still waiting to uncurl here. If I just eat another one of these because they are quite nice. They're spread into these nice little clumps, but only where there's not any big vegetation. And just over here, just step carefully where there's not anything growing. And there's another one here. Now all these little yellow flowers here look really, really like buttercups, but they're not buttercups, although they are related. They're actually spearworts. So the flowers are just like buttercups, and there are loads of different types of buttercups as well. But if I just get a buttercup leaf, then you'll be able to see. Here's one. Right, here's a buttercup leaf, and then here is a spearwort leaf. You can see here up the stem these like long spear-shaped leaves, and there's nothing like a buttercup leaf. You see, they're not remotely similar. However, they do have the same kind of effects. They both cause internal or external inflammation. They're not any good for eating or herbal medicine, but they are really, really colourful. And the spearworts will grow in water. But quite a lot of different types of ranunculus are quite water tolerant. There's quite a few that like growing in water. And just sort of here, there's little bits of water mint that have seeded themselves. This is Mentha aquatica. And if I pick it and smell it and break it up a bit, it just smells totally just like mint. But we have got a bigger clump of that I'm going to get round to in a bit. But it's just interesting to see it seeding itself all over the place. There's another one there. Pretty tough plant, pretty common. And it's really, mint is very common along rivers and streams and swamps. It's just really exactly the same properties as the mint grown in gardens. And spearmint also likes growing in water. And there's all sorts of things growing in the swamp here. I guess we'll now go and have a look at the water mint in this big clump. This part of the pond is usually much, much higher, and I can't cross here at all. But at the moment it's easy, so this one makes a bit of a shortcut for me here. And here's the really big clump of water mints coming all the way around here like this, growing in with this meadowsweet. If I just move the meadowsweet back a bit, you can sort of see that it comes all the way over here. It even goes right over there. There's just loads of it. If I just pick a bit of it, so the leaves are a bit rounder, and it just looks like mint in every other respect. It's still got the serrated edges to the leaves. If you crush a piece, wow, it just smells like mint. And you can use it on cuts and things. It's a good antiseptic. You make mint tea out of it. It's just got all the uses and properties that mint has. It's a really, really common, really lovely herb that just grows everywhere. And yeah, I think that's probably enough swamp plants for today. So I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you press the little me, which is somewhere down there, you can see all my other videos. If you have any questions, just ask questions. I love answering questions. And I shall see you next time.